There are times when you wish you just kept quiet. One offhand comment, a snap reaction, and the aftermath isn't just awkward silence. Sometimes it costs you trust, relationships, even valuable opportunities. In a world where everyone's scrambling to be heard, choosing silence with intention becomes a rare kind of strength. But mastering when to stay quiet and when to speak with purpose takes more than just willpower. It demands self-control. That's why Stoic philosophy has stood the test of time for thousands of years. It's not a refuge for the timid. It's a guide for those seeking to stay steady in the storm, to live with discipline, resilience, and depth. Stoicism trains you to regulate your emotions, concentrate on what's within your control, and, most crucially, recognize when it's time to talk and when it's wiser to remain silent. If you've ever felt like your own words turned against you, then this video is meant for you. Watch it through to the end, and you'll leave with 7 tools to make your words a strength, not a liability. Number 1. Listen more, speak less. Have you ever been in a conversation where the moment you opened up, the other person jumped in with a quick, "Oh yeah, I already know that"? Or maybe you shared something meaningful, only to get a distracted laugh before they shifted the focus right back to themselves? These days, speaking seems easier than actually listening. Just take a scroll through social media. Millions shouting, "Listen to me." Yet so few truly quiet enough to hear others. In Stoicism, listening isn't something passive. It's a display of strength, a mind capable of holding back the urge to perform, choosing instead to act at the right moment. Like a master swordsman, they don't swing at every opening, they wait, they observe, and they move only when it matters. The wise don't use words just to fill the silence, they use silence to understand people more deeply. Let me share a story that shows just how powerful someone's quiet presence can be. How it can completely shift the atmosphere without uttering a single word. Dave drives rideshare in Manhattan. He's not much for chit-chat. One day, a woman gets in, eyes tired and red. For 40 straight minutes, Dave says nothing more than a gentle, "Good morning." He places a bottle of water in the front cup holder, switches off the radio, and occasionally checks the rearview mirror as if silently asking, "Are you all right?" When they arrive, the woman gets out, leaving behind a quickly folded note. It read, "I just lost my father. Thank you for letting me sit in silence. This ride was the kindest thing I've experienced all week." Dave never spoke a word, but somehow he said everything she needed to hear. "I'm here. I understand." Listening isn't just about staying quiet while someone talks. It's a conscious decision, like following up with a thoughtful, "Do you mean?" or letting the silence be instead of rushing to fill it with noise. True listeners don't jump in with advice, they don't pretend to have it all figured out. They ask, they wait, they don't force conclusions, they sit with the moment. In meetings, they're the quiet ones, but they always have the clearest grasp of the room. In relationships, they're the ones people run to when it really counts. The best salesperson? They don't just pitch, they ask sharp, honest questions. The best doctor? They don't just diagnose, they listen to the fear beneath the symptoms. And the best friend isn't the one who has every answer, but the one who can sit with you in silence and still make you feel seen. Here's a simple way to sharpen your listening. For the next week, in every conversation, keep track. How many questions do you ask versus how many opinions you offer? If you're asking twice as much as you're talking, you're on the right track. Try letting the other person speak for 70% of the time. The more you listen, the clearer it becomes. Most people don't want fixing, they just want to be understood. And here's something unexpected. The better you become at listening, the less you'll feel the need to talk. Because once you understand clearly, there's no need to guess. Once you see the whole picture, you stop arguing over the small pieces. The most powerful voices don't speak much. They just say what matters. And what's truly surprising, in those moments where you're deeply listening to someone else, you actually start to understand yourself. You'll notice your impatience, your urge to interrupt, that script running in your mind, waiting to say, "Let me tell you about my experience." Becoming aware of that, that's real growth. You're no longer chasing the win in every conversation. You're seeking connection. Epictetus once reminded us, "Nature gave us one tongue and two ears so that we could listen twice as much as we speak." And nature doesn't make mistakes. That ratio, that's a lesson, so ask yourself, are you living it in reverse? Because once you begin to master your words through listening, you'll realize the real challenge isn't your voice, it's your mind. Most of the time, what pushes the wrong words out of your mouth isn't a lack of knowledge, it's emotion, rising too quickly. So the question becomes, how do you calm that internal storm? What if emotion is the invisible force guiding every conversation you've ever had? Number 2, control your emotions. There's a lesson most people only come to understand after damage is already done in their relationships. Words are never completely harmless. They're like arrows. Once released, there's no taking them back. And what's most tragic, most of those arrows aren't fired by logic but by emotion. We get angry, we feel hurt or afraid, and we speak. Sometimes just a few fleeting seconds of lost control can destroy something beautiful we spent years building. That's why learning to manage your emotions before you speak isn't optional. It's a skill for survival. Stoicism doesn't demand lifelong silence, it simply asks for awareness before you open your mouth. It teaches us that true freedom isn't in saying whatever we want whenever we want. It's in having the strength to stay silent when we should. And that strength only exists when you're in control of your emotions. Have you ever been so furious that you wanted to lash out, maybe shout, insult, tear someone down, only to regret every single word minutes later? Or maybe you blurted out a secret just to prove a point and lost someone's trust forever? These aren't rare moments. They happen every single day, at work, at home, even in anonymous corners of the internet. Let me tell you a story. It's one you'll want to hear because it shows how emotion can take over not just your words but your whole life. John, a longtime manager from Chicago, worked at a tech company where he was respected for being calm under pressure. But during one high-stakes meeting, his boss publicly criticized him. Harshly. John snapped. He cut in, raised his voice, and accused his boss of being unfair. He said the team didn't respect leadership. The room froze. By the end of the day, John had been removed from his management role. The irony? John wasn't wrong to feel the way he did, but he lost because of how he responded. If he had just paused, just taken 3 seconds to breathe, things might have played out completely differently. That tiny pause, it can be the barrier between a wise response and a reckless reaction. And that's exactly the kind of shift Stoicism calls us to make. Every day. Don't speak when you're angry. Don't explain when you're hurt. Don't respond when your mind is still caught in a storm. Modern neuroscience now confirms what the Stoics knew centuries ago. When emotions run high, your brain's amygdala takes over, overpowering the prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for reason. In simple terms, When you're angry, you're literally less intelligent. Your brain is temporarily hijacked. And what you say in that state, it doesn't come from the real you. It comes from your emotion. So ask yourself, are you okay with being the mouthpiece for your anger? Here's the twist. Emotional control isn't about bottling things up. It's actually the art of transforming them. One of the most powerful techniques: get specific about your emotions. Don't just say, I'm mad. Say, I feel disrespected, or I feel powerless. Naming your emotion with clarity reactivates your rational mind. It creates just enough space to step back from the emotional wave. Another tool comes from behavioral psychology. If you feel like you're about to explode, grab a pen and write out everything you want to say, but don't send it. Write it by hand. That physical act forces your mind to shift from raw emotion to structured thought. And often, within minutes, you'll realize you don't want to say any of it at all. Abraham Lincoln used this very method. Whenever anger bubbled up, he'd draft a searing letter, but he never sent it. He'd fold it, file it away. They called it a letter of venting. It wasn't written for the recipient. It was for him to regain clarity. That's how Lincoln stayed calm, even in the most chaotic political storms. You can also build a mental anchor, a small physical gesture to reset your mind. Maybe it's touching your wrist, or slowly exhaling through your mouth. Tiny move, big shift. It's your brain's way of signaling. Pause, regain control. These aren't just hacks. They're shields. Shields that guard your peace and protect your dignity. Mastering your words doesn't mean silencing yourself forever. It means knowing when to speak, what to say, and how to say it. Sometimes your greatest power lies not in the words you choose to speak, but in the ones you choose not to. Have you ever been in a moment where your emotions took over and you said something you couldn't take back? If so, share it in the comments, not for shame, but so we can all grow. So we can all learn to live with more strength, more calm, and speak with more intention. And don't forget to subscribe, so every day, you'll get a reminder from Stoic philosophy that to master your emotions is to master yourself. Number 3. Speak less than you think. There's a subtle but dangerous habit many of us slip into, saying whatever pops into our head. We like to call it honesty. We label it as keeping it real, not bottling things up. But here's the truth. Blurting out every passing thought isn't honesty. It's a lack of discipline. The people with real depth, it's not that they think less, it's that they've learned how to think thoroughly and speak sparingly. Think back to your last coffee catch-up with friends. Someone casually mentions they're considering switching jobs, and before they can even finish their sentence, someone cuts in with, "To be honest, that's a dumb move right now." A few more just being real comments follow. And just like that, what started as open sharing turns into unsolicited judgment. The tone shifts, the person withdraws, nods, ends the conversation, and maybe, just maybe, they'll never open up to that group again. Because here's the thing, a valid point, said at the wrong moment, in the wrong way, to the wrong person, might as well be completely wrong. Stoics don't hold their tongue because they have nothing to offer. They do it because they understand something simple. Every word has a cost. That cost could be your energy, your privacy, your relationships. And the more you evolve, the less you'll feel the urge to speak. Not because you're hollow inside, but because you're done cleaning up the damage left by careless words. Epictetus once said, "If you want to improve, Be content to be thought foolish and stupid. That's the paradox. Wisdom often isn't about speaking to prove you're right. It's about having the self-control to stay quiet, to be misunderstood and still stay steady in your own skin. Let me share a story. It's quick, but it holds a lesson most of us face at some point. Thomas was sharp, a fast thinker, sharp-tongued and full of insight. He worked in finance and had a mind that was always 2 steps ahead. During one internal meeting, his boss presented an idea that, frankly, wasn't well developed. Thomas didn't wait. He jumped in, dissected it, and laid out every flaw on the table. His words were precise, cutting. He wasn't wrong, he was just too fast, too blunt. His boss didn't respond that day. But a few weeks later, Thomas was quietly removed from a major project. Confused, he asked around. The truth? Leadership thought. He didn't fit the culture. He didn't lose his place because he lacked talent. He lost it because he was right at the wrong time. From that day, Thomas changed. He started jotting down his thoughts before meetings, reading them again 10 minutes later, and asking himself, am I saying this to contribute or just to sound smart? If the answer was the latter, he stayed silent. Over time, people started paying closer attention when he did speak. His silence wasn't mistaken for hesitation anymore. It was read as depth. And you can start doing the same. Here's how. When a thought shows up in your mind, don't speak it right away. Picture every word costing money. You'd naturally say less and mean it more. Give yourself a small buffer, just 3 seconds between thought and speech. In those 3 seconds, ask, this moment, this topic, this person, is it necessary? A tiny question, yet it can totally change how the conversation plays out. Ever feel like you're creating pressure just by saying too much? Every time you share a plan, a dream, or even a feeling, you're unintentionally placing yourself in a position where you'll feel the need to defend it, justify it, explain it. But if you hold even just a small piece back, you gain the freedom to change course, pivot, or walk away without shame. Not everyone deserves access to what you're thinking, and you don't need to speak constantly to prove you matter. The right kind of silence? It's invisible armor. It protects you from misunderstandings, from unnecessary conflict, from emotional chaos. So ask yourself, are you speaking because you have something meaningful to say? Or because you're afraid of being forgotten? Choose your words. Choose your timing. Choose your audience. That's not just good communication, that's survival. And before you rush to share that next big idea, remember, ideas are like seeds. Speak them too soon and the wind might carry them off before they've had the chance to take root. Why is silence such a powerful protector of what matters most to you? And why do Stoics guard their personal plans so carefully? The answer might just reshape the way you use your trust and your voice. Number 4. Guard your plans. There's something strange about modern life. The more people talk about their goals, the less they actually seem to reach them. You see it all the time. I'm launching this project. I'm learning this new skill. This year, everything changes. They post about it, tell their friends, speak like it's already happening. And then, a few months pass. No change, just an old caption under a forgotten post. Why? Because unchecked talk is the greatest sedative for action. It tricks your brain. You feel the rush of progress without lifting a finger. You get praise, encouragement, head nods, and that feels good. Too good. So good that you stop moving. You ever sit in a cafe and overhear someone going off about their startup idea? I'm opening this coffee shop, artsy cozy, books everywhere, a space for the community. It sounds real, inspiring, full of heart. Fast forward 6 months. Same person, same seat, same drink. No coffee shop. Just another new dream replacing the old one. And it's not because they're lazy, not because they don't mean it. They just fell into the trap, the illusion of progress. The brain doesn't always know the difference between saying something and doing it. Talk can feel like action, but it's not. Marcus Aurelius didn't post about living simply. He just lived simply. He didn't boast about discipline. He practiced it. Every day. And that's what made him powerful. Ask yourself, if you were a tree, would you rather grow real leaves? Or just shake your branches so people think you're growing? Let me tell you a story worth holding on to. Not about some legend, but about someone who's probably a lot like you. Jake. 34, software developer. Hated his 9 to 5, dreamed of launching his own app, talked about it all the time, gave slick presentations, had the whole plan mapped out. Everyone was impressed. Except, he hadn't written a single line of code. Month after month, all talk. No build. Until one day a friend said bluntly, "Jake, you're addicted to talking about success, not building it." That hit different. Jake went quiet. Deleted his old posts, stopped announcing, sat down, and finally wrote his first line of code. 3 months. Silent. 6 months. No updates. Then quietly, his app launched. No announcement. No hype. Just results. That story forces us to ask, are we doing the work or just narrating the fantasy of it? If you recognize yourself in Jake, good. That's not failure. That's awakening. Because once you realize that keeping your plans private protects your energy, that's when you start building something real. Look at Thomas Sankara, revolutionary, president of Burkina Faso. He didn't brag about living, simply. He sold off the government's luxury cars, cut his own salary, grew vegetables in the presidential garden. He didn't say it. He lived it. Here's the twist. When you stop performing, people actually start paying attention. When you stop announcing, your results speak louder than anything you could have posted. Silence is power. Want to practice this? Start small. For the next 30 days, stop sharing your plans. No posts, no hints, no humble brags. Every time you feel the itch to talk about what you're going to do, pause and write down one concrete action instead. Not because you don't deserve recognition, but because you deserve a real result, not just a round of applause. Pause right here. You're already halfway, and if you've stuck around this long, it means something. You're not just casually interested in Stoicism, you're ready to live it. This path? It's bold. It takes awareness, persistence, grit. But the next chapters won't be abstract. They'll be practical, grounded, actionable. So keep walking, quietly, with strength, with purpose. And if you've found even a moment of clarity here, a silent like is more than enough. Because real support, like the Stoic spirit, isn't loud, it's deep, steady, and full of strength. Number 5, choose your confidants. There's a kind of spiritual suicide people commit every day. Not with a scream, but with a conversation. They talk too much to the wrong people and call it connection. But in truth, it's excavation. Every personal detail you share is another scoop of dirt, until one day someone else takes what you said and uses it to bury you. Sounds dramatic? Then answer this. Of everyone you've ever confided in, how many kept your truth quiet out of respect, not just because they haven't had the chance to use it yet? Stoicism teaches us to speak less. But what most don't realize is, it's not just about how much you say, it's about who you say it to. You don't need to go silent. But you do need to be selective, because as you grow it becomes painfully clear. Not everyone deserves access to your system's internal files. Ever had that moment? You're on a bus or in an Uber, and a stranger seems easy to talk to, and before you know it, you're telling them about your family, your relationship, your job. Why? Because they're not involved, so it feels safe. But that very distance means they have zero loyalty to what you just shared. In a world addicted to information, naivety is currency for the cruel. Let me tell you about Mark, a personal trainer, just starting out. He had vision, passion. He confided in someone he thought was a close friend. Marketing ideas, financial stress, his fears about staying afloat. The guy listened, smiled, nodded. Then opened a gym next door. Same concept, same clients. Even used Mark's own worries. I don't know if I'll make it another month, to scare off potential investors. Mark wasn't weak. He just gave away his weak spots too soon. To the wrong person. This isn't rare. It happens when you vent to a coworker, and suddenly your manager treats you differently. It happens in families. When confessions become ammunition, it happens online, where people pour their hearts out in comment boxes, hoping to feel lighter. But relief is not the same as wisdom, and oversharing always comes with a cost. So what do? You don't shut down, but you filter. You ask, will sharing this make me stronger? Or am I handing someone power over me? If the answer isn't clear, keep it in. Everything you say lives somewhere in someone's memory, in a conversation you won't be invited to, or worse, in a plan forming quietly against you. Here's a simple rule. The 3-time appearance principle. Someone should show up in your life 3 times. In joy, in pain, and in silence. Before you reveal anything below the surface. Because everyone is kind when things are good. But the person who stays silent when there's nothing to gain, that's someone you can trust. Need a real-world example? Look at how CEOs guard their unreleased products. It's not about paranoia. It's about experience. They know. Leaks don't come from enemies, they come from mouths with no loyalty. Your life is a prototype. Don't let someone judge your blueprint and decide your worth before you've even built it. Silence can be your last line of defense, and your true confidant, if you find one, won't need every detail. They'll see you clearly through the quiet. There's a verse. Do not cast your pearls before swine, lest they trample them and turn to tear you apart. It's not about arrogance, it's about protection. You do have something valuable. Not everyone is ready to honor it. So ask yourself, who are you sharing your truth with, and do they truly deserve it? One day you'll realize the person who knows the most about you might not understand you at all, and the one who truly sees you won't need to know everything. That's when you'll understand. Silence isn't the absence of words. It's the presence of wisdom. But now the real question is, how much silence is enough? And when does it become distance, not discernment? The answer might change the way you let people in forever. Number 6. Silence is power. Silence isn't the absence of words. It's a decision, a discipline, a deliberate refusal to give the world what it expects from you. And that refusal, it's not glamorous, it's not easy, but it's powerful as hell, because staying silent, when you have every reason to speak, takes 10 times more strength than winning any argument. In a world where everyone has a microphone, podcasts, live streams, status updates, the real rebellion is restraint. Who dares to not speak? If that person is you, maybe you're not reacting to the world. Maybe you're owning your place in it. You felt it before. Someone says something wrong about you, publicly. Your heart pounds, your jaw tightens, your instincts scream, say something. But instead, you look, you nod, you walk away. It doesn't feel good, but it feels different. It feels like control. That moment whispers to the world, I don't need to prove anything. And in that pause, you don't just control your words, you control yourself. Marcus Aurelius barely spoke. His most famous work, written to himself, and buried inside is this: the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. Don't mimic, don't retaliate, don't react. You don't need to speak to strike back, you just need to avoid becoming what you hate. Ever notice this? Some people say brilliant things, and no one remembers. Others say nothing, and we remember them forever. Why? Because words are sound waves, actions are gravity. Sound fades, gravity pulls. Here's what most people fear about silence: being misunderstood. We think if we don't explain ourselves, people will think we're weak, wrong, clueless. But silence is a strange kind of power. It creates space. And in that space, people wonder, guess, reassess, and in that uncertainty, you gain influence. How do you live that in the real world, in the small moments, when someone you love is angry? Can you hold their hand and listen instead of defending yourself? When a coworker subtly takes a jab in a meeting, can you smile, look at your boss, and just deliver your point? No clapback, no commentary, just clarity. Let me tell you about David, designer, brilliant. His coworker stole his idea, pitched it to their boss. Everyone clapped. David said nothing. A week later, when execution started, everyone turned to David because the idea didn't live in the slides. It lived in him. He didn't speak. He showed. And from that day on, people didn't just see talent. They saw presence. Here's the truth. People don't listen because you talk. They listen because when you do talk, it matters. And sometimes silence isn't just control. It's healing. When you stop voicing every frustration, when you stop posting vague quotes aimed at someone, you're not suppressing, you're processing, and you're protecting your peace. In Zen, in Taoism, in Stoicism, non-action isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It means I could, but I don't need to. So here's a challenge. Try one full day of silence, no reacting, no justifying, no indirect posting. Track how many times you wanted to speak and didn't. Then ask yourself, if I had spoken, would anything be better? Maybe you're not the most eloquent. Good. That just means your words will cost more, because you don't waste them. Don't let your voice become cheap just because you gave it away too often. Silence is power, but only if you're strong enough to hold it. And if you've ever stayed quiet, held your fire, and realized later it made you stronger, drop a to mark the moment you stopped reacting like you used to. Number 7. Let achievements speak. There's a deeply human instinct in all of us. The need to be seen, to be recognized, to be known as someone going somewhere. And the quickest way to feel that? Talk about your goals, your plans, your next big thing. But here's the quiet truth. The more you speak about what you're going to do, the less likely you are to actually do it. Not because someone sabotages you, but because words, unchecked, steal the fire from action. Every time you say, I'm starting this, I'm learning that, big things coming soon, your brain gets a reward, applause, nods, maybe a few likes, and that reward feels like progress. But it's not. You haven't started, you just talked. That's the trap. The illusion of momentum. The Stoics understood, every word costs energy. Spend too much trying to prove, you forget to do. Those who walk this path of quiet discipline know, it's not about being seen. It's about earning the right to be seen. And when that happens, you won't need to explain yourself. You'll walk in a room and people will feel it. Think about the last time you declared a plan, learn a new language, write a book, start a business. What happened after? Did you move forward? Or did that high from sharing it take the edge off your hunger? That's not weakness. That's how the mind works. It cashes the check before you've done the work. So what's the answer? Purposeful silence. It's not hiding. It's strategy. You don't dig up a seed every day to check its growth. You water it, protect it, let it rise in its own time. Same with your goals. Keep them under wraps. Shield them from noise, pressure, judgment. Let your work grow roots before you show the leaves. Because here's the shift. Staying silent trains something most people never develop. Inner discipline. It forces you to trust your own process. Not because people clap, but because you know it's right. And when the result comes, you won't have to say a word. It will speak. It will move people. Not because you hyped it, but because it has weight. No need to chase the spotlight. You'll become it. So the next time you're tempted to post your plan, brag a little, drop a teaser, pause, ask, what if I let the results speak for me? And if that answer feels right, you're already on the path most people never find. Because those who control their words control their lives, and that's where all real power begins. Conclusion. We've just explored 7 Stoic-inspired lessons to master your words, from listening more and managing your emotions, to knowing when silence speaks louder than promises. Each one isn't just philosophy, it's a tool, a weapon, a quiet kind of power. Because as we grow, we learn something simple but rare. The more grounded we become, the less we need to say. Eventually, it's our presence that speaks. Our actions, our calm under pressure. That's when words stop being noise and start becoming something that matters. Words can build. Words can destroy. But when you learn to control them, you're not just mastering speech, and you're mastering yourself. That's what Stoicism offers. Not detachment, not apathy, but inner freedom. Calm in the chaos. Unshakable focus on what truly matters. If something in this video sparked something in you, a pause, a shift, a new way of seeing, give it a quiet like. It might just do the same for someone else. Drop your thoughts in the comments so we can grow, learn, and reflect together. And share this with a friend, a loved one, someone who might need a little more calm right now. And don't forget to subscribe, because your journey to self-mastery is just beginning, and what's coming next will keep you sharp, steady, and strong. Thank you for being here. We'll see you soon.